Chapter 1092, Break the enchantment. Although the spiritual power of elusive forest couldn't be absorbed, the air was exceptionally fresh, as if every pore of her body was moisturized. However, Hushi was still troubled by the fact that she couldn't absorb spiritual power. She was also going to find enough spiritual grass to refine some spiritual healing pills for backup, but if the absorption of spiritual power couldn't be improved, it was impossible to support the completion of a furnace of medicinal pills. Hushi found a secluded place and sat cross-legged. After sitting still for half an hour, Hushi discovered that when her spiritual power passed by the dantian, it seemed to be blocked by a faint restraining force. Because of this enchantment, the spiritual power that should have gone into the dantian was completely expelled from her body. In the end, the spiritual power absorbed couldn't even reach 1%. Hushi slowly opened her eyes and frowned. Is there any way to bypass this enchantment and let spiritual power enter and exit the dantian normally? What triggers the enchantment? Is it the operation of the spiritual power? What if I can channel the spiritual power without being detected? Hushi's eyes suddenly lit up. She thought of a peculiar way. She closed her eyes again to channel her spiritual power, but this time, she also channeled her internal spiritual force. Hushi carefully wrapped the spiritual power with internal spiritual force, then she slowly circulated it in her entire meridians before going into her dantian. A wave of pure spiritual power suddenly spread from the dantian to the limbs. It's successful! Hushi was overjoyed. This method really works. When she was running both internal spiritual force and spiritual power at the same time, she was able to absorb spiritual power from the natural environment at a faster rate. Hushi closed her eyes and began to experiment continuously to break through the enchantment by running the spiritual power and internal spiritual force at the same time. As she was getting familiar with channeling both different powers, Hushi's body exuded a bright luster. If someone could see the spiritual power with the naked eye at this time, he would find that a spiral of spiritual power had formed around Hushi. At this time, Kai Yu, who looked at the shadow summoning stone, was already shocked. She actually breaks through the prohibition enchantment of the spiritual power absorption. How is this possible? Isn't Shiyu only at the foundation establishment stage? Even I, who is at the peak of the gold core stage, definitely can't break it. How did Shiyu do it? Is he really a peerless genius once in thousands of years? Kai Yu suddenly raised his head and looked at the Miracle Healer Academy elders on the side. He wanted to tell the elders about this shocking thing, but he suddenly remembered Ren Shuiling's accusation and Lu Zhishi's lonely look. Kai Yu clenched his fists and said nothing, then he continued to release divine sense into the shadow calling stone. So what if Shiyu is really a genius? This also cannot deny the fact that he bullied and harmed Zhishi. Hushi was particularly happy to solve the problem of spiritual power absorption. In this way, the rank 6 magical beasts in this elusive forest would have no threat to her. Walking alone for a few days, Hushi would hide her aura and avoid the crowd as long as she encountered a group of candidates. With her current high cultivation, her harvest was very good when she walked into the dangerous places of the secret realm. At this time, several rank 3 and rank 4 magical beasts' essences were in her low-level storage bag. As for the high-rank spiritual grass, she didn't find much. She would refine them into pills even if she found them. On this day, Hushi was walking in a muddy swamp, and she suddenly saw a huge gray-white mouse rushing past her eyes. Chapter 1093, Unfathomable 5 Spiritual Rat? Hushi's eyes lit up. When there is 5 spiritual rat, there are 5 spiritual flowers. In her previous life, there was a saying in Changbai Mountain, if you want to dig ginseng, you have to find the Bohemian waxwing. Then it is the same in Miluo continent. If you want to find the 5 spiritual flower, first look for the 5 spiritual rat. Even though this 5 spiritual rat was only rank 3, it was extremely fast and was good at burrowing into the ground. Ordinary martial artists simply couldn't catch it. The 5 spirit flowers were the spirit flowers transformed by the natural spirit. Their ranks were not high, which were usually rank 4, but they often grew in batches. If she found the 5 spiritual flower, It meant she didn't have to work hard to accumulate points anymore. He used divine sense to wrap around the 5 spiritual rat, then she followed it to run around in the swamp. There were a lot of dangers in this swamp. From time to time, a black crocodile would try to attack He, but she just finished it off with a slash. In addition to the black crocodiles, there were ubiquitous mists in the swamp. These mists were all poisonous. If anyone ran into it, he would be severely injured even if he survived. But to He, this kind of poison was nothing, it couldn't stop her at all. Poor Caillou, who was looking at her in the monitoring room, was already shocked by what happened before her eyes. Poison mist swamp, black crocodile, golden pattern leopard, these are all dangerous place and magical beasts that even the gold core stage cultivators are afraid of, but this Shiyu, who is obviously at the foundation establishment stage, can deal with them easily like chopping vegetables. How unfathomable is the strength of this young man. If such a person leaves elusive forest alive, wouldn't the kind Jishi be in danger? Thinking of this, Caillou's face slightly turned pale and frowned deeply. In elusive forest, He had followed the 5 spiritual rats to find a batch of 5 spiritual flowers at the end of the poisonous mist swamp. These 5 spiritual flowers were swaying in with the winds. They had strong spirits. Most of them were rank 4, and a few had even reached rank 5. He picked these 5 spiritual flowers, and she secretly moved a rank 5 spiritual flowers from the storage bag to the void. 5 spiritual flower was the best material for refining the spirit healing pill, but it was really precious and rare, so she had never gotten it in her hands. In the future, when she planted the 5 spiritual flowers in her void, then the quality of the spirit healing pill would probably be doubled again. He left the poisonous fog swamp with satisfaction, then she found a safe valley and took out the pill refining furnace given by the academy. Anyway, the trial was only a few days. Her points were definitely more than enough, so she didn't have to hunt anymore. In overflowing cauldron pill scripture, there were several pill formulas related to 5 spiritual flower. For the remaining few days, she would try it out. At this moment, He, who was at ease, didn't know that a crisis was approaching her gradually. The members of the 6th team had gone through hunting and gathering these days, and they had also accumulated some points. Because they had Han Qianer, a master of the gold core stage, they did not encounter any danger when they encountered magical beasts below rank 5. Han Qianer kept her face cold. When she encountered the magical beast's essence and spiritual plants that were below rank 4, she didn't even bat an eye on them. Therefore, Chen Jianqing and others got a lot of benefits because of this. However, these people were awkwardly looking at Chen Jianqing. Because Chen Jianqing originally agreed to refine the spirit healing pill for everyone, but when they collected all the medicinal herbs, Chen Jianqing could refine them. Chapter 1094. Full of resentment, however, he found that the refining was unsuccessful at all. Every time before the pill was condensed, his spiritual power couldn't support it, and the pill refining failed. In order to support Chen Jianqing's pill refining, they also contributed 2 of their spiritual healing pill. Until now, these people had not had a single medicinal pill. They had become more and more unsightly when they encountered magical beasts. On this day, they passed through a valley and encountered a rank 4 magical beast. They spent a lot of effort to kill this magical beast, but this time, even Han Qianer was panting. She could only sit on the ground and meditate cross-legged. Chen Xiaoying finally couldn't help saying, if we can't find anything to replenish our spirits, I'm afraid we will die because of spiritual power exhaustion before the trial is over. Yang Hailong also frowned and said meaningfully, in fact, the 4 spirit healing pills were still enough to survive these last few days if we used them wisely, but, Hayes, how are 2 spirit healing pills enough? Although there was also rank 1 spiritual grass in the secret realm, many of the impurities that were eaten raw were harmful to martial artists, and the spiritual power that could be replenished was not even 1 in 10,000. It was simply impossible to solve the problem. Chen Jianqing's complexion turned from green to white. He snorted and left with a flick of his sleeve. From being pleased to being questioned now, this kind of gap made him feel extremely depressed. But what made him more irritable was Shiyu. If I can't get rid of Shiyu in this secret realm, Then one day this kid will reveal my results. By then, Chen Jianqing couldn't help gritting his teeth viciously when he thought of the picture of himself falling from heaven to hell. Why didn't Shiyu die sooner? If he is dead, then I have no more worries. If someone on the team dies, I can receive a point deduction reminder, but now that there is no deduction reminder, it means that Shiyu is still alive. Isn't Shiyu only at the foundation establishment stage? Why is he still alive? Chen Jianqing walked farther and farther alone, only feeling that the wind in elusive forest could dispel the resentment in his mind. Suddenly, Wang Hai's voice came from behind. "Brother Chen, wait for me." Wang Hai ran to Chen Jianqing and immediately comforted. "Brother Chen, the group of shallow people have never seen the world. Don't get annoyed by them. Brother Chen can get a score of 999 on the written test. That means you are capable. You can't refine pill because you can't absorb spiritual power in this elusive forest. They are rookies in refining pills, that's why they said that." Chen Jianqing finally felt better when he heard the words. He raised his chin slightly and snorted coldly, "They will pay the price for looking down on me." "Yeah." Wang Hai nodded repeatedly, gloating, "I'm different from them. I admire Brother Chen from the bottom of my heart. I'm totally looking up to you. When Brother Chen enters the academy, don't forget to promote me." Chen Jianqing's vanity was satisfied, and the arrogant expression on his face was restored. As he walked up the mountain, he pointed with a smile, "This small assessment isn't a problem at all. My goal is to become the top of Miracle Healer Academy and the president of the Academy Student Council. You just have to be obedient." Before Chen Jianqing finished speaking, he was taken aback and suddenly pulled Wang Hai to get to the ground together. Chapter 1095. I have a way. Wang Hai was staggered by the pull, his knee hurting on the ground, and he was about to exclaim when Chen Jianqing whispered, "Don't talk, look below." Hearing this, Wang Hai quickly looked down. Here was a mountain cliff, and below the cliff was a secluded valley. At this time, a young figure was refining pill in the valley. As the cover of the pill cauldron buzzed and vibrated, a strong fragrance of elixir spread out. The two people on top of the cliff could even smell it. Obviously, this batch of medicinal pills was about to be refined, and it was even a perfect batch of medicinal pills. Wang Hai looked at the boy intently, and his eyes widened as he blurted out, "Shiyu." It turned out that the young man who was refining medicinal pills in this valley was Heshi, who had been away from their team for several days. Wang Hai looked at Heshi up and down, only to see her neat clothes and a calm look. Even during the pill refining, her spiritual power wasn't blocked at all. He gritted his teeth. This kid is only at the foundation establishment stage and he is alone. How can he be so leisurely? This is totally different from our embarrassing state. At this moment, medicinal pills were successfully refined. Wang Hai and Chen Jianqing probed their heads and looked in the direction of the pill cauldron. With just this look, Wang Hai couldn't help opening his mouth wide. He said in a trembling voice, How come there are so many?" Generally, a batch of medicinal pills could have more than 10 or 12 pills, and the academy gave a low-grade pill cauldron. It was very good if 5 to 6 pills could be refined in a cauldron. However, a batch of medicinal pills refined by Shiyu had a total of 40 pills. Didn't they say that low-grade pill cauldron isn't good in refining pills? Didn't they say that we can't use spiritual power in the elusive forest? Didn't they say that the foundation establishment stage's pill refiner cannot purify the impurities in the spiritual fire even if he has subdued the spiritual fire? How did this guy do it? Chen Jianqing's facial muscles twitched. He glared at Wang Hai and said coldly, "Shut up. Be quiet. Do you want Shiyu to find out?" Wang Hai was just shocked and jealous. Then Chen Jianqing was going crazy with jealousy. At this time, his killing intent toward Shiyu was even stronger than ever. Wang Hai swallowed and said in a low voice, "Why don't we go down now and ask him for medicinal pills? He is still in the 6th team. We are not good for him if we die." Chen Jianqing was silent when he heard the words, and he pulled Wang Hai back several steps. Until Chen Jianqing confirmed that Shiyu didn't notice them, he sneered and said, "Wang Hai, do you want to snatch all the medicinal pills from Shiyu?" "Of course I want, but..." "No but." Chen Jianqing squinted, lowered his voice, and leaned close to Wang Hai's ear. Shiyu is only at the foundation establishment stage. As long as we kill him, the medicinal pills and the spiritual plant we found will be ours. For pill refining, a spiritual plant was definitely needed. The medicinal pills refined by Heshi were so mellow and rich in aroma, the spiritual plant found must be of very high rank. As long as these spiritual plants could be obtained, their scores in this assessment would definitely be very high. But Wang Hai was shocked when he heard this, almost loudly saying, "How can this be? Isn't this forbidden in the trial?" Chen Jianqing covered Wang Hai's mouth and cursed in his mind. But the expression and tone on his face were exceptionally gentle. He continued to whisper in his ear, "I know that the Academy prohibits killing each other in the same team, but I have a way." Chapter 1096, Help, I have a way to make Shiyu die without anyone knowing. Even the invigilators will never doubt us. When Shiyu dies, her medicinal pills and the items in his storage bag will be divided equally between us. With the spiritual plants in Shiyu's hands, you will definitely pass the assessment. What do you think? Wang Hai was pounding as he listened. His eyes were flickering with hesitation and vicious ambition. The benefits of killing Shiyu were obvious. However, if the invigilators discovered his actions, it was equivalent to no further promotion. He might even be blacklisted by the Academy in the future. Seeing that he was moved by his proposal, Chen Jianqing hurriedly told his plan. Wang Hai's eyes brightened as he listened, and his whole body trembled slightly with excitement. Chen Jianqing looked at the flames in his eyes with satisfaction. He smiled and said, "As long as you do this for me, I will cover you in Miracle Healer Academy in the future. Let you enjoy the advantage of being on top of people." Wang Hai nodded repeatedly, never hesitating. His face was full of excitement. The two went back to look at Shiyu under the valley, then they looked at each other with a cold smile, turned and left the top of the mountain. In the valley, Heshi checked the 30+ spirit healing pills, and she finally showed a satisfied smile. In the past 2 days, she had refined several batches of medicinal pills with 5 spiritual flower as the main medicinal material. However, due to the poor quality of the cauldron, the number of refined medicinal pills had not been large, and the quality didn't reach the best quality. Isn't this failing the pure spiritual power effect of the 5 spiritual flower? Therefore, the unwilling Heshi tried different methods. Finally, she discovered when she put some water spiritual power into the spiritual fire to refine, the purity of medicinal pills would be greatly improved. Heshi picked up a spirit healing pill and swallowed it. What surprised her was that in addition to the rapid replenishment of the spiritual power throughout her entire body, Heshi also felt that the fatigue and hunger accumulated from refining pills for a long time had disappeared without a trace. The spiritual power that was replenished into her body didn't pour arrogantly as the spiritual healing pill, but it ran like a long stream of water in the dantian and meridians. They were also used to replenish spirits, but these medicinal pills were milder and easier to absorb than the spirit healing pills. This can no longer be described as a spirit healing pill, right? Heshi picked up a medicinal pills, put the rest in the storage bag, and then smiled slightly. Since it is no longer a spirit healing pill, then I will name you 5 spiritual pill, the best 5 spiritual pill. The name Heshi had always been so random in naming, so in the future, the name of the 5 spiritual pill, which would be popular in Miracle Healer Academy and Miluo Continent, was decided like this. Heshi finally let a sigh of relief for successfully refining the best 5 spirit pills. She decided to try to refine another medicinal pill in Overflowing Cauldron Pill Scripture. Just as she adjusted her breath for a while and was about to put the raw materials into the cauldron, she looked solemn. Immediately afterward, there were bursts of panic-stricken cries for help from a distance. Heshi walked out of the valley, and she saw a man stumble toward her, shouting, "Help! Help! Somebody help me!" Along with this person, there was a hum that seemed to make the valley tremble. Behind this person, there was a dense swarm of bees covering the sky and the sun. Chapter 1097. How to Help You. From the speed at which the wings trembled, one could feel the anger and brutality of these bees. He almost recognized at a glance that the person calling for help was Wang Hai, her teammate in the same group. The clusters of bees that followed behind him were poison spiritual bees. Poison spiritual bee was only rank 1 magical beast. Its stinger was poisonous, but it was not a problem to the martial artists at all. However, if thousands of poison spiritual bees grouped up to attack someone, it was even more terrifying than the rank 6 magical beast. It only took a second for a gold core stage martial artist to be killed by the swarm. Wang Hai anxiously channeled spiritual power as he ran for his life. When he saw He, his eyes lit up, and he rushed toward He. "You help me. Help me." He squinted at Wang Hai's face with a half-smile. Although Wang Hai kept yelling for help, there was no despair or panic on his face. Instead, his eyes were rolling around, apparently having some ill intentions. He floated up into the air, leaping backward and quickly distancing herself from Wang Hai. Wang Hai was stunned for a moment, and he slowed down by half a beat. He was almost caught up by the ferocious bee swarm. His face changed drastically. He stared at He fiercely while continuing to run toward her and saying loudly, "You, are you going to watch me die? Don't forget, we are in the same team. If I'm dead, your points will also be deducted." He was calmly standing on a stone with a majestic attitude, and she said casually, "Oh? How do you want me to help you?" Seeing He standing still, Wang Hai was overjoyed. When he was about to run in front of he suddenly threw something at He. He only felt that a strong fragrance with the sweetness of pollen came at her. Oh, it turns out to be the hive of poison spiritual bees. No wonder so many poison spiritual bees are chasing Wang Hai desperately. Although poison spiritual bees were extremely poisonous and terrifying, their hive was a rare material. Not only is spirit strong, but it also has the effect of detoxifying many insect toxins. There was a medicinal pill in the overflowing cauldron pill scripture which lacked such a main material. He smirked and kept the honeycomb in the storage bag. Since Wang Hai wanted to give her such a good treasure, she wouldn't say no. When Wang Hai saw Xiu put the poison spiritual bee's hive in her storage bag, he cursed "fools" in his mind with a face full of ridicule. Poison spiritual bee senses are not an ordinary sense of smell. Even if the hive is kept in the storage equipment, they can still sense it. This is also the reason why many martial artists dare not provoke the poison spiritual bees. Because once they steal their hive, the poisonous spiritual bees will chase endlessly until they kill the poacher. This ignorant Xiu. He thought he could escape by putting the hive in the storage bag. Let's see how he dies here. Thinking of this, Wang Hai stopped running away, looking at the swarm of bees rushing toward He with a gloat. Qin Jianqing, who was hiding in the corner, was also full of excitement. Although he was unwilling to take the risk to provoke the poison spiritual bee, he must confirm the death of Xiu with his own eyes. Seeing tens of millions of poison spiritual bees rush toward Xiu angrily, he seemed to be able to hear Xiu's painful scream the moment and see her turning into a dead corpse. Chapter 1098, Opportunity to dedicate selflessly. However, he didn't see Xiu's panicked face as expected. She still looked calm as usual, even leisurely with a hint of sarcasm. She cast a water spiritual power to wrap the storage bag that kept the beehive. As the storage bag was wrapped in water spiritual power, the dense swarm of bees in the sky seemed to have suddenly lost their target and kept spinning around irritability. A few also flew in Hexi's direction, but they were killed by her casually. During this period, she also secretly collected more than a dozen poisoned spiritual bees into the void. Only the plants in her void were not sealed, and it was not easy to bear fruit after flowering. These few poisoned spiritual bees could solve this trouble. But Wang Hai, who was waiting to see a good show, was dumbfounded. Why don't the poisoned spiritual bees attack Xiu? Just because of the water spiritual power cast by Xiu? However, if the water spiritual power can block the aura of the hive, many martial artists have long removed the hive of the poisoned spiritual bees. How did Xiu do it? Wang Hai was stunned in amazement, but He suddenly raised his head, looked at Wang Hai, and smiled slowly. "Thank you for your hive, but it's not impolite to return a gift. I hope you will like my gift too." After finishing speaking, she flicked her finger, and a water drop flew toward Wang Hai with a fierce momentum. Wang Hai didn't even know what He launched at him. He saw the poisoned spiritual bees, which were lost in the air, suddenly fluttered again and made a terrifying buzzing sound. Afterward, they rushed toward Wang Hai frantically. Wang Hai was scared witless. He turned around and ran desperately. As he ran, he cursed, "Shiyu, what did you bastard do to me? Let these poisoned spiritual bees go away. Go away." He was standing on the rock with her arms around her chest, watching him getting chased by the poisoned spiritual bees with a half-smile. Chen Jianqing originally planned to hide in the dark and only appear after Wang Hai killed Shiyu. However, without knowing what happened, the poisoned spiritual bee flew toward Wang Hai. At this moment, Chen Jianqing couldn't wait anymore. He pretended to have just arrived from a distance. He put up a shocked expression and said angrily, "Shiyu, that's our teammate. You see him in a danger, how can you not save him? Is it because he insulted you in the first place, so you want to watch him die?" He smiled slightly. Her eyes seemed to be reflecting light under the sun. "Oh? Teammate? Since you care about your teammates so much and hate me for not saving teammate, how about I give you a chance to dedicate yourself selflessly?" After finishing speaking, she flicked her finger, and a water droplet wrapped the same pollen fell on Chen Jianqing. Chen Jianqing still had an angry questioning face. Suddenly, realized that the poisoned spiritual bees that were chasing Wang Hai had suddenly been divided in half and flew toward him. The poisoned spiritual bee swarms were terrifying creatures that even the gold core stage couldn't deal with. Chen Jianqing backed away in fright, and he even pushed He with grievance. Chapter 1099. Running around, there was a leisurely smile on He's face. Even when she was pushed, she even walked toward the bee swarm. However, the next moment, a scene frightened Chen Jianqing. The bee swarm rushed toward He, but they didn't touch her at all. On the contrary, they seemed to be terrified of something as they detoured directly and rushed toward Chen Jianqing fiercely. Chen Jianqing screamed. He didn't daring to stay for half a second, and he channeled all his spiritual power to run forward quickly. Although his speed was already very fast, a few poisoned spiritual bees still caught up with him and stung his head a few times. The painful Chen Jianqing kept screaming like a pig. He ate the last spirit healing pill, barely pulling the distance between the bee swarm. Two swarms of poisoned spiritual bees chased Wang Hai and Chen Jianqing around, and they unknowingly bumped into each other. The originally terrifying bee swarm was even more powerful after converging. Wang Hai was now sweating profusely and panting heavily. He asked Chen Jianqing in horror, "How could this happen? How could this happen? Brother Chen, what should we do? My spiritual power will soon be exhausted. Do you still have a spirit healing pill?" Chen Jianqing's face would never be better than Wang Hai's face. He gritted his teeth and said, "It must be the boy Shiyu. No way, cough cough. If this goes on, even if we aren't stung to death by the poisoned spiritual bees, we will be dead due to spiritual power exhaustion." The two of them had been running for half an hour. Although running did not consume much spiritual power, their spiritual power was about to run out. Wang Hai, who didn't have a spiritual healing pill, was about to collapse. He was full of regrets. "If I knew this would happen, I would definitely not be greedy about the power in the academy and collude with Chen Jianqing. If he didn't try to set up Shiyu, even if I cannot pass the assessment, there will be no life danger at least." Thinking of this, Wang Hai took out his inscribed jade slip and thought secretly, "When my spiritual power is exhausted, I will activate the inscribed jade slip. So what if I fail the assessment? I can still come back next year." Chen Jianqing suddenly said, "Right, let's find the water source. I remember that there is a water source not far away. As long as we jump into the water, the damn poisonous bees can't do anything to us." Upon hearing this, Wang Hai immediately put away the inscribed jade slip. "If I can pass the assessment, who wants to quit?" The two ran quickly to the southwest, and it didn't take long before they saw a clear stream. Wang Hai and Chen Jianqing looked at each other in joy. But at this moment, the poisoned spiritual bees behind seemed to have realized something, and they suddenly uttered a harsh buzzing sound. The speed of the bee swarm was suddenly accelerated. In an instant, the bee swarm that was a dozen meters away arrived in front of them. The stream was also a few steps in front of them. Wang Hai widened his eyes in horror, quickly trying to activate the inscribed jade slip. But under the rush, he dropped the inscribed jade slip to the ground. Wang Hai was about to bend over to pick it up, then a huge force came from behind. He staggered and fell into the dense poison spiritual bees. The heart-piercing pain instantly spread throughout his body, causing Wang Hai to let out a mournful cry. Chapter 1100. All Dead Qin Jianqing. Qin Jianqing. He actually pushes me to death. This was Wang Hai's last thought. The next moment, accompanied by a sharp cry, his entire body was covered by poisoned spiritual bees. In the monitoring room, the Academy Student Council's members in charge of Wang Hai shuddered as they looked at the bee swarm in a human shape. Although it looked terrifying and unbearable, Miracle Healer Academy had regulations that unless the candidate asked for help himself during the trial, the elders and the invigilators would never take action even if candidate died. As Wang Hai's screams became smaller and smaller, the recording stones in the invigilator's hands suddenly cracked. The student stood up with a pale face and reported to the elder above, "Elder Fu, the candidate Wang Hai is dead." Elder Fu nodded at the top, and was about to say, "Life and death are decreed by fate." Suddenly, the dozen Academy Student Council members below all showed horrified expressions. Afterward, the recording stones in their hands shattered one after another. The voices of "Papa" sounded one after another in the quiet monitoring room, bringing a weird sense of panic. The elders who were originally cultivating were shocked after taking a glance at the recorded image. Elder Qin asked in a deep voice, "What happened?" Several Academy Student Council's members below stood up one after another with a fearful look. Under Elder Qin's solemn gaze, someone finally said tremblingly, "The second team is all dead." Another Academy Student Council's member swallowed and added, "The fifth team is also all dead." Elder Qin and the other elders looked at each other with shocked expressions. They didn't ask any more, but they waved their long sleeves and quickly switched the angle of the image. In the next moment, a scene of bloody and violent violence came into view, making the faces of the elders extremely ugly. But at this time, none of Heshi, Qin Jianqing and others at the side of the valley had noticed everything that was seen in the monitoring room. Qin Jianqing didn't get out of the water until he determined the poisoned spiritual bees had all left. A swollen corpse lying on the grass not far from him. He walked a few steps forward and took a glance, almost vomiting out of nausea. The corpse was of course Wang Hai, but at this time, it didn't look like Wang Hai at all. Except for the clothes, his body that wasn't covered was full of dense black poison tumors. Especially on the face, the entire face was all swollen. However, the fear and nausea were only a moment, and Qin Jianqing felt very grateful soon. Fortunately, he made a decisive decision and chose to pull Wang Hai, otherwise it would be him who turned into this horrible look. "What did the bitch Shiyu do to make the poisoned spiritual bees chase me?" "He is just at the foundation establishment stage. I don't believe that I can't get rid of him. I don't believe that he can be so lucky every time." Qin Jianqing picked up Wang Hai's storage and was about to leave to find Shiyu. He suddenly heard Qin Xiaoying's voice. "Brother Qin, are you okay? Just now I heard screams here. What happened?" Not far away, Qin Xiaoying, Yang Hailong and Han Qian all hurried over. Chapter 1101. Lying. As soon as Qin Jianqing rolled his eyes, he immediately made a distressed expression, knelt down in front of Wang Hai's corpse, and cried loudly, "Wang Hai, it's all Brother Qin's fault. If it wasn't for saving Brother Qin, you won't be framed to death the bitch Shiyu. Ooh, it's my fault that I only have medical skills. My cultivation isn't high enough to deal with the poisoned spiritual bee swarm." Qin Xiaoying and Yang Hailong were shocked when they heard this, and they hurried over to check the body. After just one glance, Qin Xiaoying's face turned pale and vomited with a shout. "This is Wang Hai? Isn't this too scary?" Qin Xiaoying tremblingly asked, "Brother Qin, our inscribed jade slip has received the news that our points have been deducted. I didn't expect it to be Wang Hai. But, did Shiyu really kill him? Isn't Shiyu only at the foundation establishment stage? Chen Jianqing twisted his face and said, I don't know where Shiyu learned the witchcraft. He can actually control the poison spiritual bees. Poor Wang Hai was caught off guard and was stung to death by the thousands of poison spiritual bees. What? Poison spiritual bee? How can Shiyu be so vicious? Both Chen Qiaoying and Yang Hailong were full of resentment. Looking at Wang Hai's death, even if they had a bad attitude toward Shiyu, he should be so ruthless. Chen Jianqing wiped his tears and said bitterly, Chen Jianqing, swear here, when I see Shiyu again, if I don't avenge for Wang Hai, I'm not a man. As soon as he spoke, a clear voice came from far to near. He, then you have already seen it, so what are you going to do? Under the sun, the wind blew slowly and the grass was green. The scenery was stunning. But the young man seemed to be more beautiful than the scenery. He slowly approached them and glanced at Chen Jianqing with ridicule. She slowly said, Chen Jianqing, isn't it wonderful to survive by stepping on someone's corpse? Chen Jianqing's expression changed abruptly, and his instinctive guilty conscience and panic made him look aside. But he happened to meet Han Qianer's thoughtful gaze. Chen Jianqing only felt a buzz in his head as if something had broken. He yelled, Shiyu, you bitch, I want to kill you to avenge Wang Hai. After speaking, he carried the flying sword and rushed toward He. However, Chen Jianqing seemed to have forgotten that he had exhausted his spiritual power when running away from the bee swarm. He couldn't even use spiritual weapon now. Facing such a useless person, He didn't even move a hand. When he lunged over, she tilted slightly to one side and kicked Chen Jianqing to the ground. She stepped forward 2 steps and stepped on Chen Jianqing's chest with 1 foot, making him lay on the ground like a turtle. Then she sneered and said, Chen Jianqing, don't think that I'm easy to bully. Even if Miracle Healer Academy stipulates that teammates cannot kill each other, but I have multiple ways to make a person suffer a living hell. Chen Jianqing shivered in first by Hexi's fierce aura at first, but he regained his consciousness immediately. He shouted, Shiyu, you dare to hit me? You don't want to stay in the Miracle Healer Academy anymore? Chapter 1102, Narrow-Minded? Chen Jianqing's pupils shrank suddenly. Although he had guessed that Shiyu already knew, when Shiyu said it herself, he still felt panic. So Shiyu knew. He really knew it a long time ago. Then if he leaves the secret realm, he will definitely expose it. Won't I be ruined by then? Chen Jianqing became more and more panicked as he thought about it, and his eyes became more and more hateful when he looked at He. At this time, Chen Qiaoying and others finally came back to their senses. They were just shocked by the scene before them. Chen Jianqing is at the peak of the meridian stage, and Shiyu is only at the foundation establishment stage. Why is Chen Jianqing so vulnerable to Shiyu? Chen Qiaoying pointed to Wang Hai's body and asked sharply, Shiyu, did you really kill Wang Hai? Before He answered, Chen Jianqing screamed immediately, it's him. He wanted to get the hive of the poison spiritual bee, so he let Wang Hai and me lead the poison spiritual bees away. When we finally got to this stream, we had already exhausted our spiritual power. Wang Hai is 1 step late, and he ended up like this. As he said, he looked at He with fiercely twinkling eyes. Shiyu, do you dare to say that the poison spiritual bee's hive is not in your hands now? He exerted force on her foot, and Chen Jianqing screamed even more painfully. She said smugly, so what if it is in my hands? Chen Qiaoying and Yang Hailong took a breath. Even Han Qianer's face looked gloomy. Chen Qiaoying screamed, Shiyu, how can you do such a thing? Wang Hai is our teammate, you let him die for your own benefit? Do you still have a little conscience? Yang Hailong also said viciously, you treat Brother Chen and Wang Hai this way. Isn't it because they treated you badly, so you take revenge on them? Shiyu, aren't you too narrow-minded? I'm narrow-minded? He let out a sigh of relief. There wasn't any humiliation and hatred of being insulted on her face, but she smiled leisurely. Well, since you all said so, I don't mind being narrow-minded. As soon as the voice fell, she jumped into the air. With 2 bang sounds, Chen Qiaoying and Yang Hailong were both kicked to the ground. He landed slowly to the ground, then she turned her wrist without looking back. The long sword tip pointed precisely at Han Qian'er's neck. Han Qian'er's hand was still on the hilt of the sword. She had an uncertain face. She hadn't seen exactly how Shiyu did it just now. Chen Qiaoying and Yang Hailong were already crying in pain. Together with Chen Jianqing, who was still lying on the ground, the three of them couldn't even climb up for a while. Chen Qiaoying looked at He with horror, but more with hatred. Shiyu, how can you do this? Isn't it enough that you killed Wang Hai? You even want to retaliate us? Stop talking. Unexpectedly, this time Han Qian'er, who had been quiet, spoke. Her gaze swept across He, then at Chen Qiaoying and Yang Hailong. Her ice-cold voice sounded unquestionable. Stop embarrassing yourself. Don't you understand what Shiyu just did? Chapter 1103, Roar of Magical Beast. Han Qian'er glanced at him coldly with a ridicule expression. Chen Jianqing, did you really get the score of 999 by yourself? Shiyu's moves just now has proved that his combat effectiveness is stronger than the four of us combined. If he wants to deal with you and Wang Hai, does he need to go through all the troubles? As soon as Han Qian'er said this, the three people present were shocked. What does Han Qian'er mean? Although we were beaten badly by Shiyu just now, we were unprepared just now. He is just at the foundation establishment stage. How could he be our opponent? Chen Qiaoying chuckled twice. Miss Han, don't make such a joke. How can this damn kid be possibly? Before she finished her words, Hexi's expression suddenly changed. She flew away directly. For a while, everyone who stayed by the stream, including Han Qian'er, was stunned. Chen Jianqing grabbed his painful chest, got up from the ground and laughed mockingly. What's stronger than the four of us? Pooey. He's just a coward. Didn't he run away before us? Chen Qiaoying and Yang Hailong also got up from the ground, and they wanted to go along with the curse. Suddenly, a strange beast roar came from a distance, accompanied by the screams of men and women. At this moment, Han Qian'er's face also changed, and she finally knew why Shiyu would leave suddenly. She immediately ran toward Hexi's direction without thinking. He had found the trick to absorb spiritual power, so she was not afraid of flying, but Han Qian'er now only had one spiritual healing pill left. Of course, she had to save a little. For a time, only Chen Jianqing and the other two remained on the spot. They looked at each other, then looked at the distance in horror. Chen Qiaoying whispered, I seem to have heard the roar of the magical beast. Did someone encounter a rank 6 magical beast? Should we go and check it out? Or should we find a place to hide? Yang Hailong hurriedly said, We have Ms. Han, the gold core stage here. I think we should hide. Of course, Chen Jianqing wanted to hide, but thinking of Shiyu who was still alive, he felt anxious like a thorn on his back. No, I must seize every opportunity to get rid of this hidden danger. Thinking of this, he said solemnly, Let's restore the spiritual power first, then we go and take a look. After Chen Jianqing finished speaking, he sat cross-legged on the ground. Yang Hailong and Chen Qiaoying looked at each other and could only sit down. However, before they sat for a quarter of an hour to meditate, the roar of the beast approached them quickly, accompanied by sharp screams. Far away, the one rushing forward was the young man whom they hated. The young man was in a pale blue shirt, and his black hair was fluttering in the wind. He flew in the air like an arrow. When he saw the three sitting by the river, a cold, hurried voice came. If you don't want to die, leave the stream immediately and stay away from the valley. It was Shiyu. All three of them stood up from the ground with ugly expressions. Shiyu was actually commanding them. Chen Jianqing was about to curse, but a beast roar caught their attention. Chapter 1104, Black Death Bear. If she didn't hear the roar, she would almost think that what was following Shiyu was a moving mountain. Looking from the valley, only a huge black body and frantically dancing limbs could be seen. The black hair and limbs were stained with blood, and one of the front paws was holding a human head. It was not until the giant magical beast approached that Chen Qiaoying and the others discovered that this turned out to be a giant black bear. Yang Hailong suddenly stared in horror. This is Black Bear? Black bear has always been the top in the magical beasts of the same rank. This black bear should at least be rank 6. Rank 6 black bear. That is a magical beast that can even kill the gold core stage with a slap. Why are we in such bad luck? It's not that we are in bad luck, but Xiu brought the magical beast over. Qin Jianqing cursed while running in horror. Xiu, you bitch, you want to kill us all? If we are all dead, you will not end well too. She didn't even look at them while they were scolding. She leaped into the valley and landed on the side of the stream. At the same time, the black bear also entered the valley. Heshi's eyes flashed as she said sharply, Wei Qingyuan, hurry up now. Outside the valley, Wei Qingyuan soon appeared. He, who had always been a gentleman, looked very embarrassed at the moment. His hair was scattered, his clothes were torn, and there were blood stains on his mouth. But he seemed very calm. As soon as Heshi spoke, he threw a few monster essence pills toward the valley. Then he made a complicated gesture, and an ice spiritual power was launched at the black bear. With a burst of tearing sound, a spiritual power wall rose up around the valley in an instant. And the black bear was trapped in the spiritual power wall, and it roared furiously, shaking the entire valley. Wei Qingyuan spat out a mouthful of blood, but he looked relieved. Even so, he was only relieved for a moment, then he looked worried again. At this time, many more examinees who participated in the trial followed one after another and landed beside Wei Qingyuan. Someone saw the black bear trapped in the enchantment, and they were relieved from escaping death. They said in joy, Wei Qingyuan, you are so amazing. You really trapped the black bear. Wei Qingyuan wiped the blood from his mouth and looked at Heshi with a smile. Xiyu, thanks to you, if you didn't risk your life to lead the black bear away, I would never find a chance to form the gesture. Heshi frowned, threw a medicinal pill to him, and she frowned and looked at the black bear that was going crazy in the formation. Just now she was in this valley, she suddenly felt the powerful aura of a magical beast and smelled the blood, so she rushed to check it out. Unexpectedly, she saw Wei Qingyuan and the others fighting against the black bear. When Heshi arrived, these people had already suffered heavy losses. The ground was full of corpses. Wei Qingyuan, the only combatant, was desperately rushing toward the black bear, trying to buy time for his teammates to run. The black bear's paw that contained lightning power was about to slap Wei Qingyuan to death. Chapter 1105. Change. The black bear was in pain. Its anger level rose from 7 to 10, and the hatred was all transferred to Heshi. Without even thinking, Heshi withdrew her sword and ran. At this moment, she heard Wei Qingyuan shouting behind her, Xiyu, take this black bear between the mountain walls, I will trap it with an enchantment. Heshi herself was not the opponent of this black bear, so there was the previous scene. Now, the black bear was finally trapped, and all the surviving couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. They counted the number, only to find sadly that there were not even 20 candidates left in the original 8 teams with more than 40 candidates. The second team, the fourth team, and the fifth team were all dead. For the other teams, except for the sixth team that was only affected at the end, most of the other teams were left with only 2 to 3 people. In the end, there were only 15 people who were still standing there. The black bear is just a magical beast, but it killed about 30 candidates. Even if it is a rank 6 magical beast, isn't this too unusual? Heshi said her doubt. Wei Qingyuan swallowed a medicinal pill and breathed a sigh of relief. I don't know why either. This black bear is very fast, and it is especially targeting us. Heshi frowned and said, Devour martial artists? Didn't those people crush the inscribed jade slip when they were swallowed? A teammate beside Wei Qingyuan said with a pale face, I tried to crush the inscribed jade slip when I saw Qi Hua was devoured, but no one came to help and I couldn't get out. What? Heshi's face became solemn. She took out the inscribed jade slip and tried it. As expected, even if the spiritual power was injected, there was no response at all. What exactly is going on? Wei Qingyuan's teammates' words made others echo. I also tried to crush the inscribed jade slip, but it was useless. When our teammates died, we didn't hear any more reminders too. What the hell is going on? Have we been abandoned in this secret realm? How could they possibly abandon us? Miracle Healer Academy's assessments have always been dangerous. Maybe this is a test of our ability? Someone immediately retorted, "Isn't the black bear trapped now? Maybe this is just a new trial that the Academy prepared?" That's right. Maybe whoever killed the black bear can become the top one of this year's entrance examination. Brother Wei can trap the rank 6 black bear. He should of course be top one, right? I think that Shi Yu is also very powerful. He is obviously just at the foundation establishment stage, but the black bear couldn't even keep up with his speed. Yeah, we even said that he was a trash before. It turns out that he has such power. If it weren't for him, we would have died in the hands of the black bear. At this time, Chen Jianqing and Chen Xiaoying also walked over with ugly faces when they heard everyone's comments. Especially Chen Jianqing, who heard them talking about Wei Qingyuan and Shi Yu as the top one, was burning in his heart. He was completely ignored by everyone. This kind of honor should belong to me. I'm the top one of this batch. I should be the one who gets flattered by everyone. Black bear, yes. As long as I kill the black bear, both my points and popularity among the candidates can be greatly improved. Chapter 1106. Chaos. Thinking of this, Chen Jianqing looked at the black bear that kept hitting and roaring in the enchantment. Then his divine sense unconsciously touched a colorful flower in his storage bag. This flower was called 5-color lune, and it was rank 5 spiritual plant. 5-color lune had extremely terrifying toxin. Even the rank 6 magical beast would be poisoned to death. Chen Jianqing accidentally found it in this elusive forest. He secretly put away the 5-color lune and planned to surprise Han Qianer and others on the same team when calculating the points. But now, it was clear that this rank 6 black bear was more valuable than that 5-color lune. A mere rank 6 magical beast couldn't resist the toxin of the 5-color lune at all. At that time, I will be the hero in everyone's eyes, the true top one. Chen Jianqing thought so with a deep smile. Another person, who was looking at the black bear without feeling relieved, was Heshi. She looked at the black bear trapped in the enchantment with an uneasy feeling. This black bear had at least the cultivation of the peak of rank 6. Heshi could see through people's cultivation, but she didn't know much about magical beasts, and now she couldn't contact Little Egg and the others. Is this black bear really only rank 6? Why is it chasing after the martial artists? Why does it want to devour the martial artists? The inscribed jade slip originally used to survive has lost its effectiveness. Is it really just an academy assessment? Heshi frowned. She got up and walked toward the top of a mountain silently. At this time, the monitoring room of Miracle Healer Academy was in a mess. Elder Qin said with a solemn face, "What's going on? Have you found Elder Li and Elder Huo yet?" The boy in green clothes, who was calm in the square just now, said in a panic, "Because I didn't expect this to happen, I didn't notify the elders above the intermediate level of the nascent soul stage to stand by at all. Elder Li and the others are either in retreat or looking for opportunity in the secret realm. They can't be contacted for a while." Elder Qin glanced at the scene on the big recording stone, gritted his teeth and said, "If you really can't find Elder Li and the others, go and look for the dean or the branch dean. We definitely can't let all candidates die in the elusive forest. Otherwise, how do we explain to those families?" The boy in green clothes hurriedly bowed after hearing the words, "Yes, I will immediately let people inform the dean and the major branch deans separately." Seeing the boy in green clothes left hurriedly, Elder Qin still frowned with worry. Elder Fu on the side said in a low voice, "Elder Qin, don't worry too much. The new student Wei Qingyuan does have some ability. He actually traps the black bear with enchantment. As long as they hold for a while, nascent soul elders will arrive and bring them out of the secret realm." The Academy Student Council officers below all looked panicked. At this time, their recording stones no longer work, and the only recording stone above those elders was flickering. It seemed very unstable. Zhang Chong asked Kai-Yu nervously, "Vice President, what happened? Why are so many people dead? Why are the life-saving inscribed jade slips of the examinees can't be used?" Chapter 1107. Is he crazy? Higher than Elder Qin? Zhang Chong exclaimed, looking at the black bear in the image that kept hitting in the enchantment and making the mountains tremble. You mean this black bear? Caillou nodded and said with a heavy voice. This black bear had been sleeping underground for a few days, so we didn't know that it had slowly reached the perfect stage of rank 6. Now it is about to advance. It devours the examinees because their cultivation and spiritual power are the best for it. Oh my god! The rank 7 magical beast. That is the top magical beast comparable to the intermediate level and later level of the nascent soul stage. Zhang Chong was full of astonishment. Looking at the candidates who were still talking and laughing in the image, he said in a trembling voice, "The most powerful of these candidates is only at the gold core stage. Can they really trap this rank 7 magical beast? If this black bear gets out, wouldn't these examinees be all dead under its wrath?" Caillou glanced at Wei Chengyuan, who was meditating cross-legged, and he shook his head. "That's not necessary. This Wei Chengyuan isn't simple. I can't understand the enchantment he just cast. It doesn't look like a gold core stage can master this enchantment at all. They don't need to trap the black bear for too long. Qing, the boy in green clothes, will soon find the elders of the intermediate level of the nascent soul stage back. As long as the elder arrives in time to regain control of the secret realm, these candidates will naturally be sent out safely." Zhang Chong breathed a sigh of relief. When he was about to ask about the origin of Wei Chengyuan, his expression changed slightly. "Qin Jianqing, what does he want to do?" Caillou was startled, and he followed Zhang Chong's line of sight. A figure sneaked quietly in the direction of the valley while everyone was not paying attention. After he passed the boundary of the enchantment, he was drenched in sweat, but his sinister, eager face was revealed. At this time, Qin Jianqing already had a colorful flower in his hand. His greedy and excited eyes fixed on the black bear that was roaring in anger. Caillou and Zhang Chong looked at each other and shouted almost in unison, "Is this guy crazy?" The shouts of Caillou and Zhang Chong quickly attracted the attention of Elder Qin and the others. After discovering Qin Jianqing's actions in the video, all of them looked pale. They exuded uncontrollable anger and panic. Caillou trembled. He has 5-color lune, which is a rank 5 poisonous flower. If this black bear is only rank 6, this 5-color lune can naturally poison it. But this black bear has already begun to evolve to rank 7 7th step. This 5-color lune may not only be unable to kill the black bear, but it will become a stepping stone for it to advance. At this moment, all the people in the monitoring room were shocked. They could almost foresee the bloody and tragic scene in Elusive Forest. After a while, all examinees would die under the palms of the black bear. At this time, the boy in green clothes, who finally found a branch dean, was rushing over desperately. Chapter 11:08. Heroic figure. However, Qin Jianqing didn't feel that he had done anything wrong. On the contrary, he was filled with excitement and pleasure when he thought of the scene where he was being watched for a while. "Soon I will let Shiyu and Wei Chengyuan know who is the real top one." The way to use 5-color lune was to use spiritual power to crush the flowers into juice, then inject it into the eyes, ears, mouth and nose of the black bear. However, the rhizome of 5-color lune has a detoxification effect, so Qin Jianqing had swallowed the rhizome long ago. He crushed the flowers with hope and desire. The fluctuation of spiritual power quickly attracted the attention of Black Bear. With a loud roar, Qin Jianqing's original excitement and determination turned into panic in an instant. His legs were trembling, and he felt his pee leaked from his crotch uncontrollably. The black bear had already rushed toward him with a stench now, accompanied by an angry roar. Qin Jianqing was really frightened. He screamed and launched the juice of 5-color lune at the black bear. Then he escaped desperately. Roar, roar, roar. The huge roar that shook the sky suddenly resounded through the clouds, and the mountain that was trembling slightly suddenly shook even more. Everyone who had just relaxed outside the valley was stunned by what happened before them. Someone shouted, "What happened? Isn't the black bear trapped just now?" Wei Chengyuan quickly threw a few monster essence pills into the enchantment while desperately channeling spiritual power. Puff! Wei Chengyuan spouted a mouthful of blood, and his face became paler than paper. However, the mountain that was about to collapse had finally stabilized at this time. Everyone looked at the black bear in the enchantment in shock. Only then did they discover that the black bear was bleeding from its eyes, ears, mouth and nose. It was rolling on the ground in pain. Obviously, it was hurt by something. What's going on? Is the black bear dying? Who has such a great ability to kill a rank 6 magical beast? When everyone realized that the black bear was going to die, their panic turned into excitement. This is a rank 6 magical beast, now it's dying? Chen Jianqing, who was scared witless, was overjoyed to see that the black bear was dying. He swaggered out from behind the rock, adjusted his clothes, and said loudly, "It's a fluke that I can kill this black bear." What? It turns out to be Mr. Qin? Mr. Qin, how did you do it? Mr. Qin is able to kill the black bear. You really deserve to be the top one of this year. Chen Jianqing laughed and said, although I have a low level of cultivation, I still got the first place in the written assessment after all. I still have some medical skills. I can kill this black bear because I accidentally found a rank 5 spiritual plant, 5-color Lu, in this elusive forest. 5-color Luyen? You got the 5-color Luyen? That's a rank 5 spiritual plant that is extremely difficult to find. The poison of 5-color Luyen can kill all magical beasts below the rank 6. This black bear is dead today. Mr. Chen is just at the meridian stage, but you can actually kill the rank 6 black bear. You are really a hero. You deserve to be the top one. At this time, no one noticed that the black bear, whose eyes, ears, mouth and nose were bleeding, began to emit a faint beastkin power. Chapter 1109. Absolutely impossible. He squinted around, but he did not find Shiyu. He could only look at Wei Chengyuan provocatively. So what if Wei Chengyuan trapped the black bear? It's me who killed the black bear. It will be me who get the points in the end. The top 1 position, who else can get it except me? As for that bitch Shiyu, as long as I kill the rank 6 magical beast, who else will believe in Shiyu's words who is a foundation establishment stage? Thinking of this, Chen Jianqing couldn't help but smile smugly. But the next moment, everyone heard a loud rumbling noise from the direction of the valley. The broken wall above the entire valley seemed to collapse like tofu blocks. At the bottom of the mountain, the enchantment that was at the brink of collapse couldn't hold it anymore. The falling boulders made a rattling sound as they rolled in all directions. In the flying dust, the red eyes of the black bear and the huge head stained with blood were revealed. With the earth-shattering roar, it was as if the scythe of the death was about to cut off the students. Thump dash! The timid person had fallen to the ground uncontrollably, shivering. There were also girls who held their heads and screamed, "Help! Help!" Some sensible people asked loudly, "What's going on? Wasn't it poisoned to death by 5-color Luyen?" Chen Jianqing, what did you do to the black bear? Chen Jianqing's eyes were full of horror and disbelief. He murmured, "Is this possible? Impossible. How does it survive 5-color Luyen? This is absolutely impossible." Chen Xiaoying's eyes were full of despair and fear. She looked at Wei Chengyuan and Chen Jianqing with hopes. You guys must have a way to subdue this black bear, right? I don't want to die. I still want to pass the assessment. There are so many things I want to do. I don't want to die here. I don't want to die either. Hurry up and think of a way. Wei Chengyuan's face was as pale as paper. There were bloodstains on his mouth. He couldn't even stand firm anymore. He shook his head and said, "I have no way to trap the black bear the second time." Wei Chengyuan's words sent everyone into despair. They suddenly remembered that if it wasn't for Chen Jianqing, if Chen Jianqing hadn't used 5-color Luyen on the black bear, maybe the black bear would still be trapped in the enchantment. At least, they would be safe for a short time. Chen Xiaoying suddenly screamed at Chen Jianqing, "What kind of top one are you? If you are the top one, go and kill this black bear now. I don't want to die. I really don't want to die." Puff! With a sound, A strong smell of blood permeated the air. Chen Xiaoying widened her eyes in horror, looking at the dark red tongue pierced from her chest. The tongue was stained with her blood, and her pumping heart was rolled by the tongue. With a snapping sound, Chen Xiaoying's entire body was cut in half and fell to the ground. The heart and dantian were sent into the black bear's mouth by the dark red tongue. It swallowed without even taking a bite. The black bear let out a roar of pleasure, and the scarlet eyes were full of greedy appetite and bloodthirsty tyranny. In front of these weak creatures that made it painful and enclosed it tightly, it must devour them one by one. Chapter 11:10. The courage to survive. The candidates let out a shrill scream and ran desperately to the rear. However, the strength of the black bear that came out of the formation seemed to be much higher than before. It was not slow in the first place, but now it became even faster. The scarlet tongue could take away one's heart and dantian in one strike. The valley was filled with the horrifying smell of blood as well as horrifying screams. Han Qianer, who was running away, suddenly stopped and pounced toward the black bear. It's better to fight with this beast than to run away and wait for my death. Han Qianer had always refused to admit defeat since she was a child. She never allowed herself to admit defeat. Even if this black bear was a rank 6 magical beast whose strength was far higher than her, even if she was destined to die in the mouth of the black bear, she would not allow herself to back down. Wei Qingyuan stopped and said solemnly, "Miss Han is right. The black bear is very fast now, and it recognizes our smell. Even if we run away, we will still die at its hands. Instead of waiting for our death, why don't we join forces and fight?" Of the 15 people, there were only 13 left, but there were a few gold core stage among them. Everyone stopped when they heard the words, staring straight at Han Qianer with sharp gaze. Their eyes were full of hope, hoping that Han Qianer would be as powerful as people said, hoping that Han Qianer could at least wound the black bear. That way they at least had the courage to survive. However, the reality quickly gave them a big slap in the face. Han Qianer's sword tip landed on the black bear's fur, making a ding sound. The flying sword made of fine steel was bent. It didn't even hurt the black bear a single bit. The black bear roared wildly, and it caught Han Qianer in its palm. Han Qianer's face turned pale. Fear and despair finally appeared in her always cold eyes. The candidates below saw the scene and screamed in horror. Some timid girls even closed their eyes, unable to stop the tears of fear and despair. The black bear's tongue stuck out and rolled toward Han Qianer. The joy of devouring the strength of another one made its scarlet eyes glow. However, just when the black bear's tongue was about to touch Han Qianer, a fierce purple light whistled. With a piercing sound, the dark red tongue of the black bear was pierced by the purple light. The severe pain caused the black bear to let out an angry roar, and it instinctively let go of Han Qianer. Han Qianer fell straight from the air. She was shivering in fear until she forgot to use spiritual power to slow down the descent. Seeing that she was about to fall to the ground, a figure suddenly appeared in the air, caught Han Qianer firmly, and then landed firmly on the ground. Han Qianer was shocked for a while. When she looked clearly, she said in a hoarse voice, "You saved me?" The young man had a delicate face and unparalleled facial features. Who else could it be if it wasn't Shiyu? As she let go of her, stood up, turned to look at the black bear that was covering its mouth and howling, and said solemnly, "Wei Qingyuan, didn't you trap it? What's going on?" Wei Qingyuan took a breath and said in a hoarse voice, "I don't know what happened. Chen Jianqing fed it with 5-color lun. We thought it was going to die, but who knows, it suddenly went mad and even broke the enchantment." Chapter 11:11. Other way. Everyone's faces were full of panic and fear, but they were looking at Chen Jianqing with doubts and resentment. If this person didn't do that, maybe the black bear would still be trapped up. Chen Jianqing shook his head and screamed after being looked at like this, "It's not my fault, not my fault. It's obvious that Wei Qingyuan's enchantment is useless, otherwise how could it not be able to trap the black bear? That 5-color lun can obviously kill all magic beasts below rank 6, how could it fail? That's not my fault at all. It's not my fault." As she glanced at him coldly, the 5-color Luin can indeed kill all magical beasts below rank 6, but this black bear has already advanced to rank 7. So your 5-color Luin didn't kill T, it instead became a catalyst for its success advancement. What? Rank 7 magical beast. Everyone couldn't help but scream in disbelief. Didn't you say that the highest rank magical beast in the elusive forest is only rank 6? How can there be a rank 7 magic beast? Heshi gave everyone a cold look. So, you'd better stop expecting the Academy to save us in a short time. The highest admission examiner of the Miracle Healer Academy is only the peak of Nascent Soul, which is lower than this black bear by 1 rank. Now the control of this secret realm has been completely taken away by this black bear. Even the elders of the Academy will not be able to enter in a short time. Then what are we going to do? Are we just waiting to die in there? Whoa, I don't want to die yet. I'm only 20 years old. I'm the most outstanding genius in our family. How can I die here? Wei Chengyuan said in a deep voice. Shiyu, even if this black bear is a rank 7 black bear, there are elders at the Nascent Soul later stage in the Academy, so as long as they come, we can be saved, right? Hashi nodded, then she looked at Chen Jianqing with cold eyes. So originally, the dozen of us had great hope of survival. As long as Wei Chengyuan's enchantment could trap the black bear for a while, the Academy will find the elders of the Nascent Soul later stage. By then, we will naturally be saved. However, the appearance of 5-color Luin made the black bear advance successfully. For the rank 7 magic beast, killing us is just a matter of moments. As soon as Hashi's remarks came out, everyone glared at Chen Jianqing fiercely, wishing they could tear him to pieces. Chen Jianqing now also knew what he had done. He was not ashamed, but he regretted it. Although he wanted to win against Shi Yu and Chen Jianqing, he cherished his own life more. Now that this black bear had become rank 7, didn't it mean that he would die in the secret realm? I can't accept this result. Hashi looked at Wei Chengyuan. Wei Chengyuan, do you have any other way to subdue this black bear? Wei Chengyuan frowned and coughed lowly before saying, there is another way. 13 of us can form a sword array. This sword array is very simple and can be learned without practice. Everyone just needs to stand in their respective positions, and it can play the biggest defense. Even the martial artists of Nascent Soul stage can be resisted. Is there any difficulty in forming this sword array? Wei Chengyuan nodded. Although sword array doesn't need to be practiced, it needs strong spiritual power support from martial artists, but in this elusive forest, we can't absorb and channel spiritual power well. This is the first difficulty. Chapter 11-12. Can or cannot. Also, the most important core of this sword array is the person responsible for attacking the black bear. Before the sword array is completely formed, he must resist the attack of the black bear and make it completely trapped in the formation. However, this person will be in extreme danger and will be killed by the black bear if he is not careful. Heshi nodded and said without hesitation, okay, just these 2 points, I will solve them. As she said, she took out a dozen medicinal pills in her palm. The pills exuded a faint medicinal fragrance. Medicinal pills, I will provide. This is a spirit healing pill that I have refined myself. One can be worth the effect of the 4th grade spirit healing pill, and it can last for a quarter of an hour to help absorb spiritual power. You let everyone take one. What Hashi took out was actually 5 spiritual pills. In the past few days, she only had time to figure out how to make 5 spiritual pills, but she was interrupted by Chen Jianqing and this black bear. Wei Chengyuan's eyes widened in shock. You refined these medicinal pills? But isn't this elusive forest unable to absorb spiritual power? I have tried to refine pill, but I couldn't succeed at all. The others also looked at Hashi with suspicion in their eyes. Hashi is only at the foundation establishment stage. How could he refine pills under such circumstances, and the spiritual power of the medicinal pills is so abundant? Hashi sneered, you guys are sure to discuss this issue with me at this time. At the right time, the black bear in the distance finally relieved the pain and charged at them furiously. Everyone shuddered. No one dared to hesitate and grab the medicinal pills from Hashi. Even Chen Jianqing wanted to shamelessly grab the medicinal pills, but but he was kicked away by Heshi. Heshi ignored Qin Jianqing's roar and said to Wei Qingyuan, "The second difficulty, I will be the main attack. You guide them to form a formation. I will give you 10 minutes at most. Can you do it?" Wei Qingyuan opened his mouth wide with his lips trembling slightly. "Shiyu, are you kidding me? You are only at the foundation establishment stage." Heshi narrowed her eyes and said coldly, "Don't talk nonsense. You only have two answers, can or cannot." Wei Qingyuan stared blankly at the young man's clear phoenix eyes. There seemed to be clear lights flowing and rippling in his eyes. She obviously looked weak, but when she showed that expression, it made people want to trust her unconditionally. Wei Qingyuan suddenly seemed to be enchanted, and he replied, "Can." Heshi slowly raised the corners of her mouth. She finally revealed the first sincere smile since the two met. All Wei Qingyuan's thoughts were almost drowned in the young man's bright and confident smile. In the monitoring room, everyone held their breath when they saw that Han Qian'er was caught. Although if Han Qian'er was dead, Miracle Healer Academy could still handle it. However, the students and elders who were responsible for the entrance examination might all be implicated. Fortunately, Shiyu arrived in time to save Han Qian'er, who was at stake. As for how Shiyu, who was obviously at the foundation establishment stage, had such powerful strength, they couldn't care much. Only Kai Yu frowned slightly, and he clenched his fists. Dash, quick footsteps came from not far away. Chapter 11:13. Overestimating themselves. When Elder Qin saw the old man, he frowned and thought, "Why is it him?" The boy in green clothes said while panting, "Master, I searched all the branches, and I only found the branch Dean Zheng." The Academy Student Council's members were still fine, but the elders looked awkward seeing this messy and wine-smelling person. The old man hiccuped and said impatiently, "What happened? Why asked me over in a hurry? I'm sleeping soundly in my room." Elder Qin coughed, lowered his eyes and said, "Branch Dean Zheng, the matter is urgent. Sorry for disturbing your rest." He pointed to the recording stone screen behind him and said solemnly, "In the elusive forest, a sleeping rank 6 black bear suddenly started to advance to rank 7. Our cultivation is not enough, so we have lost control of the secret realm. Right now, those students who participated in the assessment are still in the secret realm, facing a life and death crisis. We have to ask Dean Zhengfen for help." Rank 7 black bear? The old man surnamed Zheng suddenly opened his eyes with fiery eyes. He appeared in front of the image in a flash, frowning deeply as he looked at the candidates who were in fear and panic and the roaring black bear not far away. "I can take back the control of the secret realm, but it will take at least 10 minutes. The old man said decisively, "Judging from the cultivation of these people in the secret realm, not to mention 10 minutes, they can't even last for 5 minutes. Elder Qin and the other elders, despite being mentally prepared, still looked extremely ugly. But now, there was no other way. They had to still do it. Save as much as they could after regaining control of the secret realm. Elder Qin gritted his teeth and said, "Branch Dean Zheng, please help." Hearing this, the old man glanced at him with burning eyes, then he said with a deep smile, "Okay, bring me enough crystal stones." Crystal stones of 5th grade and 6th grade were extremely rare outside. But as soon as Branch Dean Zheng spoke, the 5th grade and 6th grade crystal stones were sent in batches as if they were free of money. The old man was about to start channeling spiritual power to invade the secret realm, then he suddenly fixed his gaze on the image with a somewhat shocked expression. Because of the old man's expression, everyone turned their attention to the influence, and then their eyes widened, their faces full of disbelief. Those little guys whose highest cultivation level is just at the gold core stage, and the lowest cultivation level is even at the foundation establishment stage. Facing the rank 7 black bear, instead of running away, they even stand around the black bear in different directions. The black bear looked at the people around it and let out a roaring roar. It wanted to smash all these weak creatures who dared to provoke it and hurt it again and again. Someone from the Academy Student Council exclaimed, "Are they crazy? Why are they surrounding the black bear? Are they going to fight the black bear? How could they be the opponents of rank 7 magical beast?" Shouldn't they run for their life to buy time now? The others nodded with faces full of worry and disapproval. Even the elders above looked ugly. They secretly scolded these candidates for overestimating themselves. Chapter 11:14. Tired of living? Branch Dinzeng glanced at Wei Qingyuan, then he shook his head. However, what is the use of the formation? Without the main attacker, the formation will not be formed in time, and it will be destroyed by the black bear. Sure enough, just as Branch Dinzeng expected, the black bear didn't care what these weak two-legged creatures were doing around it. It just charged toward one person. The huge palm swept toward a young examinee with a fierce gale. The examinee was so frightened that his face turned pale, his arms trembled, and his eyes were full of despair. Many people in the monitoring room showed unbearable expressions. It is impossible for these people to escape, and this little guy is the first victim. Before the expected bloody scene happened, Branch Dinzeng suddenly exclaimed in surprise, How is this possible? Who is this little guy? A blue figure approached silently behind the black bear. When the black bear was about to slap the young examinee, a sharp sword light slashed on the black bear's most vulnerable palm. Roar! The shocking roar was mixed with incomparable anger and pain. Obviously, the black bear's almost invulnerable body was injured by the blue figure. The black bear no longer bothered attacking the young examinee as it immediately turned around and charged at the blue figure. Caillou looked at the blue figure. The originally clenched fists were clenched tightly again. He bit his teeth until his cheeks were aching. He couldn't describe how he felt at the moment. The behavior of this young man who disgusted him was beyond his expectations. Shiu, are you a big villain? Or a truly peerless genius? Standing next to Caillou, Zhang Chong finally saw the true face of the blue figure, and he couldn't help exclaiming, Shiyu? How could it be Shiyu of the Foundation establishment stage? What is he doing? He actually provokes the black bear by himself? Is he tired of living? Zhang Chong's exclamation expressed the minds of everyone present. Even Han Chenner of Gold Core stage is no match for the black bear. What can this beautiful young man of the Foundation establishment stage do? But the next moment, everyone's eyes widened in shock. Zhang Chong opened his mouth even more, wishing to swallow everything he had just said. There was a strange silence in the monitoring room, and it took a long time before someone blurted out to break the silence, This can work too? That's right, this was the thought in the minds of everyone present. Is this even possible to deal with the rank 7 black bear like this? The screen displayed by the recording stone kept flickering, but everyone could still see it clearly. In the eyes of everyone, Shiyu's figure had turned into a blue afterimage, spinning around the black bear. From time to time, the black bear stretched out its huge palm and swooped toward the tiny Shiyu, but it was often escaped by Shiyu at a critical moment. The black bear was getting more and more irritable and angry. Chapter 11:15. Cut off the root cause. It launched its dark red tongue at Shiyu, but Shiyu quickly released a purple whip, swung it fiercely, and entangled the dark red tongue with barbed at once. The black bear let out a painful growl and quickly retracted its tongue, but it was already a step too late. Its tongue, which had been badly wounded, was injured even more again. It almost got rampage due to the pain. However, when the black bear pounced on Shiyu again, Shiyu's figure once again turned into an afterimage and disappeared in front of its eyes. If the black bear impatiently wanted to attack other people, Shiyu would stop at the right time to attract the black bear's attention back. In the monitoring room, someone swallowed his saliva and said, I remember that the black bear has the weakness of slow movement, but its attack has the attribute of lightning, and the effect is very wide. Just a slight touch will cause one to be annihilated. The other pouted and said, Slow? Why don't you go around the black bear and try it out? Although the speed of the black bear that has risen to rank 7 is incomparable to other magical beasts of the same rank, it is a Foundation establishment stage martial artist can deal with. Interesting, really interesting. The old man looked at Shiyu, who kept walking around playing black bears, and Wei Qingyuan, who was instructing other candidates to form a formation, and sneered, It seems that they can probably survive for 10 minutes. Since that's the case, I have to put some effort too. After speaking, he sat down with his knees crossed, and his divine sense slowly extended toward the entrance of the secret realm. He never looking at the image again. Elder Qin and the others all breathed a sigh of relief, but everyone's eyes on Shiyu were full of complexity. Have you found out the details of this Shiyu? Hearing Elder Qin's voice, Elder Fu, who was standing beside him, nodded quickly and passed an inscribed jade slip into his hand. Elder Qin used divine sense to read, then he frowned immediately and said slowly, "Have a grudge with the Feng family? He is close to Nangongyu?" A dark light flashed in his eyes, and the corner of his mouth raised a cold arc. A Foundation establishment stage can have such speed and combat power. It seems that she has quite a few trump cards in her hands. Elder Fu nodded and said, "The time is short, so we can't find much information, but there are definitely a lot of secrets hidden in this Shiyu. Just the best quality pill produced by Shengda Hall and the inheritance of the Purple Golden Palace in the Sealed Dragon Domain's secret territory, he can't be underestimated." Elder Qin gave a low smile. His eyes turned cold and deep. "I have heard Jishi mention this person. Although I'm also very interested in many of his secrets, there are too many variables hidden in him. Keeping him alive may pose a threat to us. It is better to cut out the root cause now." Elder Fu's expression froze. He closed his eyes without speaking. At this moment, an exclamation suddenly sounded in the monitoring room. "Oh no, the black bear is going rampage. My God! Is this Shiyu crazy? Isn't it safe to circle around the black bear? It's over. It's too late to wait for Branch Deanseng to gain control of the secret realm." Elder Qin and Elder Fu were startled. They looked up quickly, and they both showed unbelievable expressions for a while. In that image, the slender figure of the young man was as small as an ant compared to the huge body of the black bear. But at this moment, the ant stepped on the black bear's face and the other foot stepped on its nose, staring calmly at the black bear's scarlet and frantic eyes. Chapter 11:16. These idiots. The young man held a long sword in his hand, and the tip of the sword penetrated deeply into the black bear's left eye. Dark black blood flowed out, causing the black bear to twitch in pain. Roar! The shocking roar shook the entire image of the recording stone. The situation in the elusive forest could no longer be seen. In the elusive forest, Hushi held a long sword and swiftly retreated from the mad black bear. As soon as her feet landed, she turned around and shouted, "Wei Qingyuan!" Wei Qingyuan was walking away from the last person he just instructed and returned to his position. Hearing Hishi's voice, Wei Qingyuan's expression froze, and his slender fingers formed gestures, depicting a beautiful and strange rune in the air. Hell Seal! A clear whistling sounded, and the rune rushed straight toward the black bear. At this time, the black bear had fallen into a state of complete madness, and the darkness and pain from its left eye made its anger soar to the peak. The lightning that was originally released from its palms suddenly overflowed from its body. Wherever the lightning went, earth and rocks burst, the grass was overturned, and the entire valley trembled. Seeing that the rune was about to cover the black bear, trapping it completely in the formation. But the lightning just happened to struck one of the examinee. The examinee was so scared that he actually forgot Wei Qingyuan's instructions and fell to the ground. The rune that originally completely enveloped the black bear suddenly lacked a piece. The black bear slapped at the fallen examinee. Squash! The examinee was smashed to pieces. There wasn't even any residue left. Wei Qingyuan's face turned even paler. He spat out a mouthful of blood with a desperate look. All the candidates were stunned by the scene in front. The hope that was raised because of Hushi's excellent skills turned into panic and despair at this time. Chen Jianqing suddenly said sharply, "Shiyu, it's all your fault. You could have kept distracting the black bear, then we can at least stall until someone comes to rescue. But you tried to be a hero and stabbed the black bear's eye. We are all dragged down by you. Now that the formation cannot be completed, it is you who caused us to die here." Chen Jianqing's words made most of the people present look suspicious. Just now, Shiyu suddenly turned around and attacked the black bear's eye, making them puzzled. If Shiyu could keep the black bear under control, the black bear would not have gone rampage at all. That innocent examinee didn't have to die. Stop it! Wei Qingyuan clutched his chest, and he suddenly gritted his teeth fiercely. You idiots know shit. The angry voice and words made the candidates stunned. They didn't understand why Wei Qingyuan, who should be most angry, should speak for Shiyu. Wei Qingyuan closed his eyes and glanced at Shiyu, who still tried to look calm even though she looked pale and was sweating profusely. He took a deep breath and said slowly, "You don't understand why Shiyu attacked the black bear? Then let me tell you the reason. It's because I'm too weak and you all are too weak." What? Wei Qingyuan, what do you mean by that? Chen Jianqing gritted his teeth and said, "Just because you know Shiyu well, you can speak for him regardless of facts and morals." Chapter 11:17. Cooperate, Chen Jianqing, you are the one who shouldn't talk. If you hadn't used 5-color Luyan on the black bear, would we have gotten to this point? As soon as Wei Qingyuan said this, everyone immediately remembered what Chen Jianqing had done. They looked at him as if they wished to smash him into pieces. Han Qianer suddenly said, "Young Master Wei, what do you mean when you say Shiyu is for us?" Wei Qingyuan coughed, and his cheeks flushed abnormally. He said self-deprecatingly, "Although the formation I used is powerful, I was seriously injured when I trapped the black bear, and the cultivation of you guys is also uneven. This cannot exert the true power of the formation at all. I didn't say it at first just because I never thought that we still had a chance. I never thought that the formation could be formed. However, I didn't expect that Shiyu actually managed to contain the black bear, and he also discovered the weakness of the formation." Wei Qingyuan looked at Shiyu with a guilt face. "Shiyu, did you hurt the black bear first because you knew that we couldn't trap the black bear with our immature formation?" Everyone looked at Shiyu with faces full of guilt. The young man in front was frail, and his face was even paler than Wei Qingyuan's, making his face look more lonely and vulnerable at this time. It was this foundation establishment stage young man who held off the black bear by himself. He was always at the brink of death, and he had to think about them. Who knew he would be misunderstood by them like this? Many people couldn't wait to slap themselves. "Who knows?" the young man sneered instead of nodding. "This is just your whimsical thought. I didn't have much hope for this formation at all. I chose to take risks and hurt the black bear not for you guys, but it was to cooperate with someone outside who is trying to take control of the secret realm." What? Wei Qingyuan's eyes widened in shock, then he suddenly realized, that's right. As long as we hurt the black bear here, its ability to control the secret realm will be weakened, and the chance for us to escape will increase. As Wei Qingyuan was going to ask more, an angry roar came. Of course, the broken runes couldn't hold back the black bear much, but it made him even more mad and angry that it wanted to die with everyone. Lightning struck at them. One of the examinees was slowed by a beat, and he was engulfed by the lightning. When the lightning dissipated, he had turned into a charred corpse. Everyone was so frightened that they couldn't move, watching their companions die one after another without the ability to fight back. Not to mention resistance, they couldn't even take a step. Seeing the huge body of the black bear rushing over, the crowd screamed in despair. Suddenly, they felt pain on their bodies, then they were tied into a ball and were ejected violently. As soon as Hushi withdrew her whip, these people were thrown aside, then she rushed toward the black bear. Chapter 11:18. Must hold on. Han Qianer looked at Shiyu, who rushed up to fight with the black bear, and she gritted her teeth. Shiyu has done enough. We have so many gold core stage, how can we let a foundation establishment stage save us? After speaking, she jumped up and joined the battle. Several other gold core stage examinees looked at each other, and they calmed down. We only need to hold on for a while. If Shiyu alone is not enough to delay the time, then we will go together. Yes, we have been cultivating for many years. Is it just to hide behind a foundation establishment stage, young man? We are the gold core stage. We should at least stand up to protect the juniors of the Meridian stage. Otherwise, if we enter the Miracle Healer Academy in the future, how do we the doubts of others? On the chaotic plane, all the gold core stage candidates soared into the sky and flew toward the black bear. The power of lightning made the Black Bear's surroundings fill with smoke. These gold core stage examinees were engulfed by the smoke as they rushed in. Their life or death was unknown. The Meridian stage examinees were all waiting outside. No one fled. They just looked at the direction of the Black Bear with red eyes. Of all the people present, only Chen Jianqing's face was distorted. His eyes were full of resentment and unwillingness. "Everyone listen, we will be teleported right away." Wei Qingyuan's joyful voice suddenly came from not far away, and it clearly reached everyone's ears, including those who were fighting desperately against the Black Bear in the smoke. All the gold core stages rushed up, but Wei Qingyuan didn't move. He stayed where he was and formed an enchantment with the only monster essence pill left. He wanted to get in touch with the elders of the college who was seizing control outside of the secret realm to save everyone. Fortunately, he really got in touch with Dean Zheng's divine sense. Dean Zheng told them that the teleportation enchantment would be activated soon. All of them would be able to escape. Are we really going to be saved? Very good. The Meridian stage martial artists who remained outside burst into tears of joy and hugged each other. Then someone shouted in the direction of the smoke, "Shiyu, seniors of the gold core stage, you must hold on. We will be out soon." The cheering voice resounded throughout the mountains and the secret realm. Even the roar of the Black Bear was overwhelmed by their voice. That was their hope of survival. In the audience, only Chen Jianqing's face was distorted. The hope to survive in his eyes was devoured bit by jealousy and selfishness. Suddenly, he sneaked into the smoke while everyone was not paying attention. The thunderbolt kept sounding in their ears, but the shock and fear brought by the lightning could not affect the good mood of these examinees. Heshi glanced at the injured people and said solemnly, "You all form a sword formation. We are going to retreat. I will hold this Black Bear first." "Yes, dash. Shiyu, be careful." Heshi was only at the foundation establishment stage, but all the gold core stage present did not question her order at all. Their eyes were even full of gratitude. In just a few seconds, if it wasn't for Shiyu protecting them, they would have been killed by the Black Bear. It was impossible to wait for the moment of surviving this. How could they not be grateful of Shiyu? Chapter 11:19, Swallowed. Several people formed a sword formation, defending while retreating. Shiyu was very close to the Black Bear. While avoiding the attack of the bear's paw and lightning, she kept attracting its attention, preventing it from attacking other examinees. Suddenly, everyone felt that the air around them was turbulent as if there was some powerful collision that made the entire space unstable. Outside the smoke, Wei Qingyuan's surprised and eager voice came, "Everyone gets ready, we are leaving the secret realm." Wei Qingyuan's words made everyone in the smoke overjoyed. The joy and pride of surviving the crisis made them put down the long swords in their hands. Their eyes were full of tears. Even Heshi, while not completely letting down her guard like them, couldn't help but let out a long sigh. Rank 7 magical beast was really not something she could deal with now. She had no spiritual power left at all. If this dragged for a few minutes, she would die in the hands of the Black Bear. However, when everyone felt at ease, the Black Bear slapped, and Heshi's body flying high in the sky dodged easily, but suddenly she felt a huge force coming from behind. Not just one, but two. Heshi was caught off guard. She wanted to mobilize spiritual power, but her spiritual power had long since exhausted. Her entire body was pushed in the direction of the Black Bear helplessly. She smelled a bloody stench, and the last thing she saw were the sharp teeth of the Black Bear and the scarred dark red tongue. "Ah! Shiyu! How did it happen?" The shrill and panicked shouts echoed in the valley, causing endless panic in the hearts of everyone outside the smoke who didn't know what was going on. Wei Qingyuan had an ominous premonition in his heart when he heard them shouting Shiyu. Seeing that several people in the gold core stage were pushed out by the Black Bear, he hurriedly stepped forward and said, "What happened?" He glanced around, but he didn't see the familiar figure. He said with worried, "Where's Shiyu?" From the smoke came the roar of the Black Bear, and lightning was launched on them. Han Qianer was trembling all over. Her face was even uglier than when she was attacked by Black Bear just now. Shiyu? Shiyu, he was swallowed by Black Bear. What did you say? Wei Qingyuan was in shock. He almost said with a roar, "Stop joking." How could Shiyu? Han Qian'er's eyes were red, and several other Gold Core stage examinees were crying with regret. Suddenly one of them gritted his teeth and said, "I saw it. I saw a pair of hands behind Shiyu's back. Someone was trying to kill Shiyu, but I didn't see that person clearly." Wei Qingyuan only felt a buzzing sound in his head, and he rushed toward the Black Bear without thinking. "Are you crazy?" Someone hurriedly grabbed him. "Shiyu can't be saved anymore." Wei Qingyuan, even if you go there, you can only die with him. Yeah. Shiyu doesn't want you to do this either. Wei Qingyuan shoved them away. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. If I know who is the one who attacked companion from behind, if I know who harmed Shiyu, I will let him die horribly. After he finished speaking, he didn't say a word, and he jumped toward the Black Bear. However, at the moment Wei Qingyuan flew up, the air and spiritual power in the secret realm all violently fluctuated. Chapter 11:20. Come out. The figures of the 10 remaining examinees disappeared one by one in the elusive forest. Shiyu. Before Wei Qingyuan's figure disappeared, he couldn't help but let out a roar. Anqin Jianqing, who was hiding in the grass, showed a sinister smile and also disappeared into the secret realm. In the square in front of Miracle Healer Academy, many people were waiting anxiously. They were all relatives or servants of those who participated in the assessment this time, because the stipulated time for the second round of assessment was 10 days. Today was the last day. Soon, the people they were waiting for came out. But some came out intact while others came out dead. Some people lost their hope of entering the Miracle Healer Academy this year after this round of assessment, and some people joined the path to become a powerhouse. So at this moment, all the people waiting outside looked solemn and anxious. Even Bai Hu and the others were no exception. "Qing Yuan, don't walk around in front of me anymore. I'm dizzy. Young master's skills are so good. He will definitely pass a mere assessment in the secret realm." Qing Yuan frowned and glared at him. "Don't keep drinking water if you're not worried." Who didn't know that Bai Hu would keep drinking water whenever you're nervous? Bai Hu laughed twice, put down the teacup in his hand, and glanced at Gu Lufeng on the side. He found that only this guy was always calm. He was even holding the account book and inscribed jade slip to check Shengdehal's account. However, after observing for a while, Bai Hu suddenly realized that Gu Lufeng had been looking at the page for almost a quarter of an hour. He didn't turn the page at all. "They are here. Look, the teleportation array is on." "How is that possible? There are still more than half an hour before the end of the assessment." "The teleportation array is really lit on? Is the assessment really over?" Everyone gathered in front of the 8 teleportation arrays. After the white light flashed, several figures quickly appeared in front of everyone, accompanied by a strong smell of blood. Everyone couldn't help but tremble when seeing their red eyes and the murderous intent. What's going on? Why are there only so few people? What about the rest? Soon, their answers were answered. The white light of the teleportation array lights up again, and there were many more things in the center of the teleportation array. Just things. Some were broken arms, some were half heads, some were broken pieces of meat, and some were half bodies. A more intense bloody smell filled the square, making people want to spit it out. Soon people in Miracle Healer Academy work clothes stepped forward and quickly cleaned up the corpses. These candidates who died in elusive forest could no longer tell which parts were whose remains, so they could only be buried together. At this time, the people in the square who were stunned by this scene finally reacted. Someone couldn't help exclaiming, "What happened? Where's my brother? Why are only these few people coming out? My young master is a gold core stage? He is impossible to die. Where is my young master?" There was a panic in the crowd. Soon, in the barrier of Miracle Healer Academy, Elder Qin and the boy in green clothes slowly walked out. Chapter 11:21. Nonsense, what does this mean? Someone shouted excitedly. Could it be that, except for these 10 people, everyone else died? Elder Qin sighed softly and said, this is not what we want either. In the square, some people cried in pain and some people cursed angrily. But they didn't dare to scold the academy, so they could only scold God for letting the most outstanding genius in their family die here. Elder Qin lowered his eyes and looked sad, but he was completely indifferent to it. Anyway, most of the candidates who died were just insignificant people with no family background. As long as the several descendants of the Feng family, Han family, and Xia family were safe and sound, it would be enough. The 10 surviving candidates slowly walked out of the teleportation array. All of them had exhausted spiritual power and were covered in scars. They did not have the joy of surviving the crisis, except for Chen Jianqing. Wei Qingyuan just took 2 steps, then his arm was suddenly pulled. Wei Qingyuan, where is my young master? Wei Qingyuan raised his head and immediately saw Bai Hu's anxious face. He thought of the amazingly talented young man and the way he fought with the black bear, and he felt a heartache suddenly. I'm sorry, I didn't protect him well. What do you mean by that? Bai Hu's voice suddenly became sharp and fierce. Where is my young master? A gold core stage young man standing behind Wei Qingyuan said hoarsely with red eyes. Are you talking about Shiyu? Shiyu? Shiyu is dead. Impossible. 3 unanimous voices sounded with complete, unquestionable determination. Don't talk nonsense. Both Qing Luan and Bai Hu glared at the young man, and even Gu Liufeng's eyes were full of coldness intent. The boy was startled, but he wiped his tears and whispered, it's true. We saw it with our own eyes that Shiyu was swallowed by the black bear. The other person bit his lip and said, we saw it too. Shiyu was always at the forefront. Thanks to him, we were able to survive until the teleportation array opened. But Shiyu, Gu Lufeng clenched his hands into fists, but his peach blossom eyes seemed to be dyed red by scarlet flames. Have you seen Shiyu's body with your own eyes? This, Wei Qingyuan froze for a moment, then he shook his head. But he was swallowed by the black bear. How could he survive? Gu Lufeng sneered and said viciously, as long as I don't see Shiyu's body, I will never believe that he is dead. Yes, how could young master die so easily? Qing Luan's red eyes widened, staring at the teleportation array as if just looking at it like this, her miss would appear. The place where Elder Qin and the boy in green clothes were located was not far from Bai Hu and others, so he naturally heard their conversation. He suddenly let out a low cough, attracting everyone's attention, then he said loudly, Elusive Forest has been greatly damaged due to the appearance of rank 7 magical beast. Therefore, the Academy decided to close the secret realm in advance. This is also to prevent the black bear from running out of the secret realm and wreak havoc in the Academy. Chapter 11:22. Close the teleportation array. After speaking, he waved at the boy in green clothes. Ah Qing, prepare to take the crystal stone and close the teleportation array. The boy in green clothes bowed and said, yes. Who dares to close the teleportation array? The icy voice sounded with a cold anger. Gu Lufeng and Bai Hu spoke in unison. They took a step forward and stood in front of the 6th group's teleportation array, looking at the boy in green clothes with cold and murderous eyes. The boy in green clothes frowned. What do you guys want to do? Do you want to be the enemy of Miracle Healer Academy? Bai Hu said solemnly, my young master will never die so easily. The teleportation array cannot be closed. He will definitely come out. Qing Wan also walked quickly to Bai Hu and Gu Liufeng's side and said in a hoarse voice, everyone who is alive here didn't see the corpse of our young master, and I have confirmed that young master's authenticating object isn't here. So, our young master must be still alive. My God, still alive after being swallowed by the black bear? Are they still dreaming? Not to mention that Shiyu only has a foundation establishment stage, right? I'm afraid that even if he wasn't eaten by the black bear, he is already dead by now. I think Shiyu's subordinates are too sad that they have gone crazy. The onlookers pointed at them and whispered. The family members and subordinates of these examinees were sad when they learned that the people they were waiting for had died, but they were already mentally prepared. Miracle Healer Academy's entrance examination had casualties every year. This year's examinees just happened to encounter the rank 7 magical beast. Wei Chengyuan also suddenly reacted at this time, took a step forward, looked at Elder Qin and said nervously, "Elder Qin, didn't you say that if every candidate dies, the corresponding recording stone will shatter, right? Then is Shiyu's recording stone shatter?" Elder Qin was stunned for a moment. Naturally, he didn't notice such details, so he looked at the boy in green clothes beside him. The boy in green clothes hurriedly ordered someone to fetch Shiyu's recording stone. After a while, a few young men came out from behind the enchantment of the academy. They were the members of the Academy Student Council who were in charge of invigilating the exam. Among them were Vice President Kai Yu, who was monitoring Heshi, and Zhang Chong, who was monitoring Chen Jianqing. Kai Yu took out the recording in his hand and handed it to Elder Qin. The gray stone had faint cracks on it. Obviously, it could not be activated. However, it was different from the examinees who were dead because their recording stones were directly shattered. Elder Qin frowned and said, "What's going on?" Kai Yu shook his head and said, "I don't know either, but after Shiyu was swallowed by the black bear, the recording stone had a crack." Elder Qin immediately said, "It's already obvious, this recording stone should have some flaws, so it didn't shatter. But Shiyu is definitely dead. Otherwise, the control of the secret realm has been taken back. Why can't the recording stone be activated?" With that said, he waved to the boy in green clothes beside him and said, "Go close the teleportation array." "Wait a minute." Wei Chengyuan hurriedly stopped the boy in green clothes, and he said with a sullen face, "Elder Qin, we really didn't see Shiyu's corpse with our own eyes, and there was no Shiyu's body in the teleported body corpses. Since the recording stone is not broken, it means that Shiyu is really still alive? Even if you can't send someone into the secret realm to save her, you should at least wait a while before closing the teleportation array, right?" Chapter 11:23. Object. Elder Qin sneered, "Ah Qin, get them all out of the square. Anyone who dares to interfere with the Academy's affairs will be the enemy of the entire Miracle Healer Academy. Wei Chengyuan, think about it clearly. For a mere Shiyu, can you afford to take the responsibility?" Wei Chengyuan's face became ugly. His pale lips trembled slightly, and his voice was deep like water. "Elder Qin, don't forget, there is still half an hour before the assessment ends. Moreover, in the past, the teleportation array will only be closed after the assessment ends for 1 hour. I have never heard that it will be closed early. Even if rank 7 Black Bear is powerful, but now that Branch Dinseng is in charge, we don't have to be afraid of the Black Bear at all. Why did Elder Qin insist on closing the teleportation array in advance? What if Shiyu is really still alive? Could it be that Elder Qin wants Shiyu to die in there?" Wei Chengyuan's words were extremely straightforward, and he said them in front of so many people in the square. This made Elder Qin's face extremely ugly. He looked at Wei Chengyuan coldly. "What do you mean? So many people saw that Shiyu being swallowed by a black bear, how could he still be alive?" Before Elder Qin could finish his words, a woman with a haggard face suddenly appeared out of the 10 survivors. "I also think that the teleportation array cannot be closed. Maybe Shiyu can really escape from death." It was Han Qian, the eldest lady of the Han family. Han Qian, who is famous for being cold and arrogant, actually speaks for Shiyu? There was an uproar in the square, and Elder Qin's already ugly face became even more distorted at this time. Immediately afterward, the second and third people came out. "Shiyu took the risk to contain the black bear for us. Even if there is only a slight possibility, we hope he can survive. That's right, as Gold Core stage, we are ashamed of not being able to help Shiyu when dealing with the black bear. Elder Qin, just wait a little longer before closing the teleportation array. Without Shiyu, all of us would have died long ago." Almost everyone who came out of the elusive forest, secret realm stood in front of the teleportation array together with Wei Chengyuan and Han Qian. They looked haggard and their spiritual power was exhausted, but their eyes were extremely determined. Elder Qin looked back and forth at them with dark eyes. He thought it was an easy thing, but he didn't expect so many people to object. Who the hell is this Shiyu? He is just a foundation establishment stage. Why are there so many people of the gold core stage speaking up for him? The more it is like this, the more I can't let him live. Shiyu was swallowed by the black bear. How could he still survive? Just as the two sides were at a stalemate, Chen Jianqing's sharp voice suddenly came from the side. The black bear is so powerful. Just to wait for the long-dead Shiyu, you want to keep the teleportation array open? What if the black bear comes out? Have you all thought about it? As soon as Chen Jianqing said this, everyone's eyes were focused on him. Many people's eyes were very strange. Out of 10 people, 9 of them were speaking up for Shiyu, hoping that Shiyu would survive. But only Chen Jianqing seemed to want Shiyu to die. Chapter 1124, Torment of Life and Death. However, Elder Qin agreed with Chen Jianqing's words and smiled at him. Mr. Chen is worthy of being the top one of the written assessment. You know how to judge the situation better than others. What our academy needs is exactly talent like Mr. Chen. Chen Jianqing was overjoyed when he heard this, and a smug smile appeared on his greasy face. And the other few surviving examinees became anxious. Except for Wei Chengyuan and Han Qianer, all of them were eager to enter the Miracle Healer Academy. Now they had finally survived from the secret realm. If they left a bad impression on the elders in charge, wouldn't they be disqualified? Seeing that none of them dared to speak anymore, Elder Qin secretly sneered. He looked at Wei Chengyuan and Han Qianer and said, "What you said is true, but I'm also responsible for the ordinary people in this square, so I'll give you the time of an incense. After one incense, if Shiyu hasn't come out yet, it means he's really dead. The teleportation array must be closed. Is that fine?" An incense. By who? Gu Lufeng, Qing Luan and Wei Chengyuan all looked at the sixth group's teleportation array. Although what they said just now was justifiable, at this moment, their hearts were filled with unease. Being swallowed by rank 7 black bear, can she really survive? Gu Lufeng closed his eyes, suppressing the fear and panic in his heart. Qing Luan's eyes were red, and his hands were tightly gripping the silk handkerchief in her hands. Bai Hu lowered his head and looked at the light green inscribed jade slip in his hand. If Master knows that the princess might be dead, I really couldn't imagine what would happen. At this time, He, who was missed by everyone, was also experiencing the torment of life and death. As soon as she was swallowed by the black bear, she felt that something was wrong. However, the force behind her was very strong, especially the second force, so she couldn't react before the black bear closed its mouth. Who is so vicious to attack me at such a time? Almost as soon as the giant bear's mouth closed, He summoned Purple Abyss Vine. The purple vines formed into a ball, instantly wrapping her entire body. In the sphere formed by Purple Abyss Vine, she felt her body keep sliding. She didn't know where she was. In the end, she landed in a hot liquid. He inside the Purple Abyss Vine could feel that the purple vines and leaves were being corroded bit by bit. If it goes on like this, in less than a minute, I will be completely digested by the black bear along with Purple Abyss Vine. Am I really gonna die here? And let the person who harmed me succeed? Absolutely not. There was a persistent determination in He's eyes, and she suddenly let Purple Abyss Vine spread out. She suddenly released a powerful ice spiritual power. The ice spiritual power spread out, quickly dissipating a lot of the scorching breath in the giant bear's stomach. However, as soon as He's skin came into contact with the giant bear's gastric juice, she still felt a biting pain. She lowered her head and looked at her arm. The skin that was originally lustrous and jade-like seemed to have small holes at this time. Her flesh was also badly corroded. Her face, neck, and even nose were being corroded too. Chapter 1125. What to do, but He only had a strong desire to survive at this moment. A long sword transfigured in her hand, and she attacked the stomach wall. However, before the tip of the sword touched the stomach wall, it was quickly melted away. Around the stomach wall, There seems to be an extremely special spiritual power film attached, so that the prey that had been swallowed in the stomach had no way to resist. It could only wait to be digested. The burning pain came all over her body, making her want to moan and groan in pain. She couldn't think clearly at all. She felt more and more tired, more and more eager to sleep forever. Mom, don't die. Woo, suddenly Little Egg's heart-wrenching cry sounded in her ear. Mom, you said you would never leave Little Egg alone, you said it. She opened her eyes abruptly. Blood dripped from her face, and it hurt her to her core, but it also woke her up. Now the little ones like Little Egg are locked in the void and can't get out, but if I die, Little Egg will turn into a giant egg and fall asleep again, and Little Golden Dragon, Xiao Li and Little Dumb Cow will all become food for the black bear. Moreover, Xiao Qi is also in the void. I have been sorry for him all her life. I promised to take good care of him in this life and let him grow up safely and happily. Even if I don't care about my own life or death, I absolutely can't let these little guys die with me. Heshi opened his mouth, and her hoarse voice sounded in the stinking and hot airtight space. Little Golden Dragon, you were once a high-level magical beast. Tell me, what else can I do to escape from this? Boss? Little Golden Dragon's voice burst into tears. Boss, hold on. We have a way to escape, there must be a way. Think. Right, Monster Essence Pill. Little Golden Dragon suddenly jumped 3 feet high in the void and said loudly, Boss, Monster Essence Pill is in the Dantian of monsters, which is the foundation of their lives and the source of their strength. As long as you can devour the Monster Essence Pill, you can escape out of it. Devouring the Monster Essence Pill? Heshi's voice became even more hoarse, but she was looking forward to it. How can I swallow the Monster Essence Pill? Boss, have you forgotten? In the Maha inheritance you got from the Purple Golden Palace, there is a chapter dedicated to how to devour Monster Essence Pill, Gold Core and Nascent Soul. Although Monster Essence Pill is different from the spiritual power system of human cultivation, even if you devour a Monster Essence Pill, you can convert its power for your own use. However, this black bear will surely die. In that way, we will all be saved. Cough cough. Because Heshi spoke, and the corrosive stench entered her throat, making her lose the ability to speak. How to leave? To get to the Monster Essence Pill? Little Golden Dragon froze immediately after hearing the words, and he hurriedly wandered around the void. All the internal organs of the black bear are protected by spiritual power membrane. Boss can't get to the Monster Essence Pill at all. What to do? Boss can't even last 10 minutes. Sister? In the void, Xiao Qi, who was standing beside the spirit spring, suddenly said, Sister, I don't want Sister to die. Help Sister. Please, help Sister, for me. That you're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.